Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Win with Will. This is the very first video on my channel, and I want to thank you guys for joining me. I really created this channel so that I could document my journey of my investing portfolio. Um, Really mainly started out just for my friends and family to be able to follow along, see what I'm doing, see how simple it is to be able to just get started in investing. Doesn't necessarily matter where you're starting from because you can start today with wherever you are, but the idea is to eventually get to where you want to be. And that journey starts with day one. So that's going to be what this channel is dedicated to, showing my progress with my portfolio starting with week one. Today is actually the 4th of July. So I really wanted to get this first video out before the 3rd because now I'm actually officially into week two. But I'll go ahead and just double down and create my week two video in a couple of days. So I'll be able to show my week two progress shortly after this. But eventually my goal is to have one of these videos kicking out every week, probably every Saturday, showing how my portfolio went for that week. And then throughout the week, here and there, I'll have other videos where I'm going more in depth into, talking about the various funds and stocks and different things that I'm investing in. I'll be interviewing and talking to my family members, like even my daughter, who's going on 8 years old, just talking about what I'm teaching her and why these things are important, right? Like most of us don't learn these things in school about growing your money, building wealth, financial freedom. You have to learn it from somewhere else. Usually someone in your home, a parent, a mentor, a business person that takes you under their wing and shows you this stuff. But if you don't have that person, where do you get it? And so you go through life, and as you get older, now you start realizing, like, man, if I would have known this, years ago, I could be a lot farther ahead. So that's my goal is to, number one, teach and raise my children on a journey of financial education and building wealth, and then also thinking about others that might have been just like me, right? You would love to have known this stuff, but you didn't know where to start, you didn't know where to go, you didn't know where to get the information. So you can follow me. Let's go on this journey together, and I'm gonna just talk to you guys as if I was just talking to my friends. So let's go ahead and get it started. So why am I here? So I really started this channel, number one, to document my progress. This is basically a place that you can go and be in a safe space, right? When you go online and you see investing videos and people talking about investing, oftentimes you see people that have these really huge accounts, $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, showing, hey, I just made $10,000 today. I made $15,000 this week, and you're like, wow, that's great. It is really awesome for motivation and to show you where you could potentially be. But the challenge is, it's not realistic for the average person to see themselves being able to start when they're looking at people that are so far along already. So, I wanted to be the guy to show you how you can start small. If you got $100 to start, if you got $500 to start, hey, the main idea is to start. And then even for those who don't even know how to start, right? How do I even invest in the stock market? How do I open an account? What's an ETF? So we're gonna go through all of those types of things on my channel, starting from from the very beginning, for the person that has never even opened an account, who's never invested in a stock, to the person that wants to be able to find a way to talk to their kids about this stuff and have an easy platform to be able to, maybe even show this to their kids. If I'm talking to my daughter and she's explaining, what a stock is, what a dividend is, and showing that she can learn these things even at 7 years old, then there's no reason that we can't as well. So first is to document my progress, show how my account is building, growing, the ups and downs. Number two, I want to be able to show my friends and family how simple it is to start. You don't have to have all these huge amounts of money. You don't have to have all this knowledge and information. You don't have to know everything to go. You can go and learn as you go. Number three, teach my kids financial education. Like I said, it's such an advantage to have time on your side. When you get older, like I am right now, you're more feeling like, man, you never feel like you started early enough. You never feel like you had enough by the time you start getting towards the retirement years, right? You're like, man, how am I gonna, be able to maintain my lifestyle and maintain my bills and things that I have to do if for some reason I'm not able to work anymore, I'm ready to retire. That's why you see people still working at Walmart as a greeter. They're 70 years old because the average person does not have enough to live off of after they're done in their working years. So now their working years are getting pushed further and further out. So my number one goal is to make sure my kids are in a better position than I am when they get to be my age. Number four, teach other parents to teach their kids, right? If you don't know where to start, if you don't know how to invest, if you don't know, what a stock is, what a exchange traded fund is, how to open an account, how to start putting your money to work, you're not going to talk to your kids about it. And so it's repeating the cycle over and over again, right? So my goal is to help other parents to find a place where they can start teaching their kids, even if they have to show their kids my videos, right? And then number five, to inspire others. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not anyone special. I'm not some type of a guru. I'm just a regular guy from the south side of Chicago who's now looking to put myself in a much better position financially. I've actually been on that same path and journey for a long time, getting into various business ventures, investing in crypto, learning about trying to trade options to get to like multiply my money faster. So just over time, I've tried a lot of different things. I've been on a path of financial freedom. It's just most things didn't stick for me, or I didn't have the type of results that I was looking for, and oftentimes it would lead me to give up or start over or try something else or look for the next hot thing to jump into. So for this, I like the idea of dividend ETFs and funds because it gives me the ability to grow my earnings and my income and create passive income gradually. And you can see the results. You can see, how your account is building and growing. With this particular strategy, as everyone probably knows, there's a ton of different strategies and philosophies you can use for investing and building wealth and growing an investing account. But I chose this one just because it works for me. You'll do your own research, find what works for you. Go to YouTube University, search how to invest in stocks. What's an option? What's a dividend? What's an ETF, exchange traded fund? So you can learn these things on your own time. But again, I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll show you the funds and the programs that I'm investing in, so you can just follow along and see what I'm doing. But again, I'm not any type of financial advisor. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just showing you what I'm doing so that you can see how these particular funds are working, how the dividends are working, and see if this is a strategy that might work for you as well. Now, let's get to the legal stuff here. I work at a job that I have to go through disclosures and legal things with people on a daily basis to not get in trouble, right? So I am not a financial advisor. The content shared here is for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. All decisions you make based on this content are your own responsibility. I'm simply documenting my personal journey and experiences with investing. So please, 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 please do your own due diligence and research, and just know that, I'm sharing my journey so that you guys can see where you can go and where you can start and end up eventually. But again, you find the path that's best for you. So let's go ahead and get into it like this young man here. Let's go, son. Hey, hey, hey. So my portfolio goals, short-term goals for me is to, number one, create a $1,000 a month recurring monthly dividend income and have at least $10,000 in my investment account. So I'm starting my account with $5,000 that I had, sitting in a savings account, moved it over to this investing account. So that's the other rule is, when you're investing, make sure that for you, your risk and what you're putting up is money that you can afford to sit aside, put into the account or what have you, and let it build. Think long term, right? 5 years, 10 years down the road of you want this to grow and build. So I'm not taking my mortgage money and my car payment money and things like that and trying to gamble it to multiply 5 times, 10 times, right? If I can hit on this stock, I know that I'm going to cash out. I'm going to double my money in 2 days, which does happen for some people, but that's not my plan and my strategy. My strategy and plan is to build up gradually. So I'm starting with, first goal is to be able to generate $1,000 a month in dividend income and have $10,000 in my account from starting from 5. I will be not just reinvesting my earnings, but I'll also be adding to my account from time to time, in which case after the first week, I've actually already added some more. So again, when I show my next week's progress, I'll have more than the $5,000 that I started with. Midterm goal, built that up to $5,000 a month in dividend income, which for most people, this is, a full-time salary. $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year in passive, recurring, monthly dividend income. So that's goal number 2. And then along with that goal is to build that account up to $50,000. And then long-term goal is to be able to generate a 6-figure income just on my dividends alone. So 100% passive recurring income, $100,000 a year, in which case now you have options, right? This is my whole idea and goal behind doing this. I have my 401k account for retirement and things like that. But in addition, I want to be able to have options. So let's take a look at my progress for week 1. So this is my very first week. Again, as I said, started my account with $5,000 and the week of June 23rd or so, and first dividend earnings announced on June 27th. So I started with all of these various funds here that are weekly paying funds, and so I'll briefly go over each symbol. So for those that are beginners, when you're starting and investing, every stock or fund that you're putting your money with has its own symbol. And this is how you would go in and find what you want to invest in. So this particular fund is not a regular stock, but it follows Tesla. But it's a fund labeled TSYY. And the fund's idea is to follow the ups and downs of Tesla. If the price of the fund, or if you think of it like a stock, if the price were to go up, it's good for you. If the price were to go down, it's not the best. But for me, with the idea of going into these high-paying dividend funds, the up and down of the stock is not the number one concern for me, because even while the prices are fluctuating up and down at times, as long as it's kicking out a pretty decent dividend amount, then that's my goal. So the price is important, because ideally, as the price goes up, it ideally would pay more and more out in dividends. But I'll go through showing like some charts on why I picked these. But most of these are already down from when they first started. So I felt like it would be a good time for me to start getting into these because they're already down. Like this one was over 20 something dollars per share when it first came out. This one was same thing, like 20 something dollars per share when it came out. So what you will notice when I show you the actual charts is that a lot of these funds that are built on these high dividend, the basis on giving out high dividends, a lot of times the prices will go down on the actual fund. And so that's why for some people it's considered a very risky investment, because what they call NAV loss, which is the value of the actual fund. It can go down and down and down. So for me, I'm willing to take the risk of the price going lower and lower as long as it's still paying out a healthy dividend amount. And the other reason that I went with a lot of these particular funds is because with me starting out with a smaller amount of capital, I felt like I wanted to get more bang for my buck. So if the price of this per share is $10, I can load up on a lot more shares versus some of the other funds that may be $40, $50, $60. And if you're looking at stocks, stocks can be, $200, $300. Like Tesla's over $300 per share for the actual stock of Tesla. But I could follow the progress of Tesla as it goes through its ups and downs, make my earnings along the way, but only have to put in $10 per share versus $300 per share if I wanted to actually buy Tesla. But I'm getting kicked out at the time that I made this 30 cents per share for owning each share of the fund. So again, if you're new, a lot of this stuff might go over your head, but think of it like this. Everybody knows what a stock is, right? A stock is, a share of a company. There's huge companies, small companies, all up and down. Stocks can go anywhere from penny stocks to a dollar or two, all the way up to thousands of dollars per share, $500 per share. Again, like we talked about Tesla, $300 per share. Now, some of the investing platforms like Robinhood and others that you can download and start investing will let you buy a small amount based off how much you have. So if you wanted to actually invest and buy Tesla stock, you don't have to exactly have the $300 to buy one whole share. If you have $100, you can buy a small percentage of the Tesla stock based off how much you have. So you might not have one whole share of Tesla, which is $100, but if Tesla was to double, the amount that you have would go up just like the underlying regular stock. So if Tesla were to double, your $100 would now be worth $200 instead of going from 300 to 600 because you don't have a full share of Tesla, but your amount that you have will go up as well. But personally, the reason I like this route is because I don't need to have as much money up front to be able to make some pretty good earnings as we go. And again, so first I'll just go through each fund, just talking about, kind of where I started, how many shares I started with. I'll track my progress as I reinvest. So that's also going to be my strategy is compounding my earnings, compound. Like I'll go through a scenario a little later to show how powerful compounding is. But just to go through this briefly, so this video doesn't get too long. TSSY started with 205 shares. When I purchased it, it was $10.74. At the time I make this video, it had dropped down to $10.33, which was a negative 3.84% loss on the price of the fund. But it was paying out 30 cents a share on that Friday. So with me having 205 shares at 30 cents a share, roughly, I made about $61.46. And the reason I picked this was because basically at $10 to make 30 cents per share, it's almost like being able to make 2.9%. And these numbers sound small, but if you think about having the ability to make 1%, even if you make 1% on your money in 1 week, that's giving you the ability to make 52%, or let's say 50% on your money in a whole year. But if you think about if your money's sitting in a bank account, in a savings account, a great savings account these days are paying, 3-4% for the year. If I have the ability to make 1% a week, even less, I'm well outperforming what I would do if my money was just sitting in the bank, right? The average investor, a good year for investing is about probably anywhere from 8 to 12% earnings on your money. But again, even if I can generate a smaller amount per week, then I'm well ahead of the game. That's my view on why I'm going with the high yield dividends. Second one, XBTY. This one follows Bitcoin. Bought 20 shares. It was $24.95 when I bought it. By the end of the week, it was $24.64, so down a little bit, 1.26%. It was paying out 50 cents per share, so I made $10.08. NVYY, NVIDIA. This is a tech company. They make like processors and things for it to go into your phones and computers. Bought 20 shares. It was $26.90 when I bought it, $26.65 by the end of the week, down 0.95%, but paying out a huge 59 cents per share. So it paid me out $11.80. YMAG on the YieldMax platform follows a group of stocks. Bought 20 shares. Again, paying out 16 cents a share. I made $3.15. YMAX, same thing. They invest in a group of stocks. Bought 22 shares at $13.40. This one went up $13.60. This one went up as well, 1.4%, 1.53. Paid out 15 cents a share. I made $3.41. Now, actually, I bought these two because they were really popular funds, but if I had to do it all over again, I likely would not have gotten into these two just because they've been not paying out as well as some of the others, right? If you look at the percent, this one is paying about like 1%. The way I view it, based off if I put $100 in, I'll make about $1. So this one, if I had $100 in, I'd make almost $3. So these two are not paying out as well as some of the others. This one, ULTY, this was one of the very first ones that I wanted to get involved with because the price is so low at $6.20 at the time. Again, it went up to a little bit, made a little bit of a gain on the actual price of the fund. But I really wanted to load up on this one because at $6, it was paying out about 9 cents per share, which is lower than all the rest, but I can buy more shares, which increases my earnings amount. So with 200 shares, I was able to make $18.46 for the week. So my total earnings for the week was $108.36. And based off of investing $5,000, I made a little over 2% for the week. So now, again, small numbers, but they add up to large amounts. If I was able to make 2% every single week for a whole year, I would make 100% of my money. So without even investing anything more, I would double up my money from $5,000 to $10,000. And so again, let's just take a quick look at why compounding and taking your earnings and putting them back in is makes such a huge difference. Let's just look at a 5-year model. And 5 years sounds like a long time, but if we think about it, right? COVID started about 5 years ago. We were in the middle of COVID. We were on lockdown, and that was literally 5 years ago. It feels like it was just yesterday, but time flies, right? So if we're thinking about starting an investment journey for ourselves, let's look at a 5-year, what will happen in 5 years if you started with $500. Let's say you're generating 1% per week by using high yield dividend funds. And let's say you were compounding, basically taking your earnings and putting it back in and buying more. And you were doing that every week. So you started with $500, getting 1% interest per week, and you're reinvesting every week back without putting any more money into the account. So if you calculate that, look at that. In 5 years, without ever adding another dollar, you're up to $6,645 in your account. And this is the thing about the compounding, is it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you give it more and more time. As we were talking about with, teaching these things to our kids, right? My daughter's about to be 8 years old. For her 8-year-old birthday, I'm going to open her a what's called a custodial account, where I can open an account for her that she can take over once she becomes 18. But going from 8 to 18, starting with the same $500 and letting that compound for 10 years, $88,000 without putting in another dime. This is just letting the account build, grow, compounding, what they call drip, which is reinvesting your earnings from your dividends back and buying more and more. But 18 years old, graduating high school with $88,000. Now, would she be in a position to kind of make her own choices, make her own decisions, decide where she wants to go to school, if she wants to go to school, decide if she wants to buy a house, if she wants to start investing in businesses? But as she's learning along the way as well, she's going to know what to do with the money, because she's going to be learning financial education along the way. So again, going back to my starting point, 5 years, $5,000. In 5 years, that's $66,000. But again, my goal is to do a little better than the 1%, but hey, 1% is fine a week. That's still fantastic, actually. And I'm going to be putting more along the way. So I'm actually going to be adding to this probably at least twice a month, adding to my account to help it grow even faster. But again, if you're a type of person that's starting with even more, You got $10,000, sitting somewhere not really producing for you. $130,000 in 5 years. So again, as you have more and more based off your starting point, you can build faster and faster and higher. But again, even if you're just starting from somewhere, it's better than not starting at all, right? So even with a couple $100, if you can start there, put $100 a month, add to it. So again, this is just to show you the power of compounding and why it's so important, and how fast and how large it can grow over time. So again, it's not a get rich quick. It's not going to happen overnight, but again, it will happen as long as you start the process. So this was just my reports of my dividends for the first week that kicked out. These kicked out on June 30th to my account. Again, YMAX gave me $3.41, YMAG $3.15, ULTY $18.46. The XBTY gave me $10.08. These kicked out on 7/2. So these actually pay out every Friday. These Granite Shares funds pay out every Tuesday. But by Friday, all of the numbers are announced, so you can know how much each share is paying out. Those numbers fluctuate every week. And this one paid me out $61.46 for the Tesla TSYY. But hey, I'm leaving here with something. Even if it's a small amount, I'm taking something with me every single week. And let's look at this as an idea to show, right now versus the idea of compounding. So if you had a rich uncle and they gave you an option to take one or two choices. Number one, he'll give you $1 million cash to begin building your wealth today. You can't come back, ask for more money down the road, but you got $1 million. You can start building towards your future, building your investments. Whatever you want to do with that money is yours today. Option two, he'll give you a bank account. That bank account only has 1 penny in it, 1 cent. His advisors, though, will double the bank account every day for a whole month. So if you start off today with 1 cent, tomorrow when you go looking at account, it's going to have 2 cents. The next day, 4 cents. Next day, 8 cents. Same, you can't touch this account for a whole month, and you can never come back for more money for the rest of your life asking him for more. Most people out of these two choices will take the right now. Hey, give me that $1 million cash. I can quit my job. I can get some things in motion. And thinking about the 1 cent, it's just only a penny, right? How far can this thing grow? And it's basically like, I'll be crazy to pass up on $1 million. But over 30 days, this is what would have happened if you'd have chosen the bank account with the 1 penny in it. Again, starting out very small, 1 cent, 2 cent, 4 cent. After halfway through, you're sitting on $163.84, and you're probably feeling like a big goofy, saying, man, I should have took that $1 million like my brother did. He's living a good life. He got a Lambo. He's traveling around the world. And I'm sitting here with $163 sitting in my bank. But again, take a look. As you go, the power of compounding is getting bigger. It's growing on larger sums. Snowball. By the time you get to that 30 days, you're over $5 million. And this is the power of compounding and why you want to have compounding working in your interest. Think about this exact same thing. Again, I talk a lot about what we teach in our kids, right? If you have your child able to invest in their retirement account from the age of 20 to the age of 50, that's almost where I'm at now. Even if I started my account very small and learn strategies to let my money build and grow and build and grow and double. I just talked about if you were making 1% a week, you're doubling an account every 2 years, right? So yeah, it might take 60 years to get here if you started with a penny. But what if you're not starting with a penny? What if you're starting with $500? You cut down that time frame a lot more. And if you're adding to it, as you go, you're cutting that time frame even faster. But again, this is just math. This is just math. It works in your favor. A lot of us have interest compounding against us with credit cards and loans and different things that we use. But if you can find a way to have it working for you, now you can be on this chart and watching your account grow. So hey, if you guys like this content or like to learn more and stick with me along the way, please subscribe to the channel, follow me, like the video, and you can actually hit the notification button so you'll be alerted every time I'm dropping one of these videos. So the idea is to get started. Doesn't matter where you are. Robinhood account, you can load that up right on your phone. I'll put a link down below where if you never had an account before, you can use my referral link. They'll give you a little free stocks for both of us. I have an account called Moo, which the reason I went with that account is because they gave me about 60 free stocks to start. They were all small, $1, $2 here or there. It ended up getting me about $180 or so worth of stocks. But I mean, hey, that's free stocks. And they also gave me 8% on any cash that was sitting in my account. 8% interest on my cash for 3 months. So if you want to do a Moo account, I'll put a link down there for that as well. Get some free stocks. If you got money just sitting in a savings account, you can get 8% on that money, even if you're not investing anything, just sitting it in cash. Or you go with one of the big boys, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, all of these. There's a ton of places that you can open up an investment account, a brokerage account. A lot of them don't have any minimum requirements where you can start and just start wherever you are. And so I'll leave you with a quote. Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. So this is just, to me, this talks about procrastination, right? You might be on the right path. You might be learning things and learning the direction you should go and what you should do and your next move. But if you don't move, right, you're not getting anywhere. So even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. If you're sitting on the train tracks long enough and not going in any direction, that train's going to run you over. So the idea is to, hey, get started. Even if that start for you right now is just going to YouTube University to start learning the basics. Or if you already know the basics, go ahead and get that account started. Throw some money in there. Start picking you some stocks or some investments. And let's go. But again, my name is Will, guys. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button if you'd like to be alerted every time I'm dropping a video. Thank you so much for your time. You guys have a great rest of your day.